TitleMatchNetwork.com.
Let's talk more about WCW. We were talking about how you started getting into some of the boys like Raven and DDP and guys like that. Eric Bischoff, as far as Eric, do you have any early memories of Eric from this time period?
Yeah, one of the first things that they put me on was this was a gang fuck. They did a cross promotion with NASCAR in Charlotte. They set up a ring in the middle of Charlotte, and there was a race in Charlotte at the same time. So Saturday night was going to be live, but they knew there might be a weather problem because it was supposed to be rain. So the previous Saturday night, they taped some matches. But they wanted to do some live matches right there in the street. Of course, it started raining. That's going to be my first WCW match on TV. So I got a call on my friend saying I might be on TBS tonight, but we don't know because of the rain. So
right.
Just a gang fuck. So I'm supposed to work Regal and Bobby Eaton. They were Blue Bloods at the time. And, we just had to go with the flow. And I think that's why Regal right away took a liking to me because I didn't freak out, at least not in front of him. I was freaking out.
Right.
My first WCW match. It's going to be live, but it's raining out. So we ended up having to go out there and pretty much do nothing because it was so fucking slippery. Anyone could get hurt. And I think what they did, they would just come live and like show Shivani and whoever he's with in the rain and talk outside the ring and say, we have matches, from Atlanta that we're going to send you to. Acting like that was live.
Right.
But to entertain the live crowd, we still had to go out and do the matches. So it happened to be Bischoff's birthday. So DDP tells me, hey, he goes, what are you doing after the show? I'm like, nothing. He's like, it's Bischoff's birthday. He goes, we're all going out to a bar. You want to go? What do you fucking think? Of course. So I remember meeting him. That was the first time I met him. And Paige introduced me as this guy from the power plant. And Paige straight up told him, he goes, I think he's going to be something. I'm like, you definitely want to keep an eye on this kid. And it wasn't too much after that they sent me out to LA and to do that match with Johnny B. Bad before the Bash at the Beach.
Right.
And that match was significant because, number one, back then, one thing I liked, when Eric and Vince used to do commentary, and they're the bosses, you kind of got a feel of if they liked it or not just from the commentary. It's hard for them to hide their true feelings.
Right.
So Bischoff really plugged me well in that match when he was doing commentary. As the heel, and Johnny was very over babyface, but you could tell he was hyping me up well. And and it's weird because up till then I never did a pay-per-view, obviously. So for our regular TV tapes, I think we had to be there 2 hours in advance, maybe an hour only. So I thought the same thing for a pay-per-view. So I fly out to California. I got out there for a couple of days early. I was fucking around. I showed up an hour or two before the pay-per-view, and fucking they were freaking out. So I was supposed to be there like 6 hours before the pay-per-view.
Right.
So I'm real late for my first big shot. So always a positive and negative. So Johnny, wanted to do something. And back then, not too many people were doing that, especially on TV. We're doing the Hurricane Rana off the top rope. He'd sit me up there and do it. He said, do you think you could take it? Because back then it was kind of unique. I said, yeah, I take that. So he did that, and it got a great reaction live in the crowd. And I remember being happy after the match, but of course having that mixed feeling of, oh, fuck, but this is my big shot. And I was late, and Eric knows I was late. And I hadn't heard his commentary yet. But when I got the way they had it set up, too, because it was really outdoors, on the beach.
Right.
The way they did it, they had a bunch of trucks, and they parked them in a huge square. So it was a big area for the boys, and that was kind of sectioned off from everybody else. So I remember when I got back, Johnny came over and hugged me and thanked me, and I could tell it was a good match. I just had a good feeling about it. But then, dude, Bobby Heenan's fucking dressing room, he had his own room, and he fucking owned trailer. Literally, I see him come out, and I see him doing this. He's looking around. And I have a feeling, man, and sure enough, man, as soon as he sees me, he goes, and runs right over to me, he goes, you're going to be something in this business. You're going to be something. Turns around, went back into his trailer. And dude, I'm like, holy fuck, man, this is Bobby Heenan. I grew up in New York. Right. So I was in the Garden all those times, with the Weasel suit. And, all the WrestleManias and everything. To hear that from him, it was overwhelming, Literally crying. Literally, when he walked away, I fucking started weeping, man. It was really powerful for me. So it's upsetting because years later, Bobby, I think, buried me in his book. Buried me somewhere. Maybe on one of your fucking tapes.
Who knows?
But it's upsetting because, growing up, I loved the Horseman. I loved Piper. And I loved Heenan. He was one of the guys.
He's awesome.
Because I was a heel fan. I liked heels. So Bobby, of course, I loved him all those years in WWE. And to have that memory. And then after that, working with him for so long, and I thought we got along. And then, years later, after we, he never said nothing to me. And then to hear him bury me. And it came about this way, and I actually cleared it up with him at WrestleMania 20. I sat down and talked to him and said, it bothered me so much. And I didn't confront him. I just explained my side of it and told him that really upset me and that how much I respect him and love him and stuff. He when I was doing the Who Bet and Kanyon thing.
Right.
You know, I first started doing that, and that was by luck. I was doing a Saturday night taping, and I hit a move, and you can tell when the camera's wrong because the light came on. So I hit a move, and I ended up being right by the rope, and the guy that was standing on the floor with the camera, the light pops on, and I'm right there, and I got to do or say something.
Right.
I'm like an idiot if I don't do something. So I just went, "Oh, better than Kanyon," and then I literally was going to get up, and I was like, "Nobody." And I didn't think much of it, so I finished my match, whatever. So when I got to the back, DDP walked in. He goes, "Where'd you come up with that Who Bet and Kanyon thing?" I'm like, "It just happened." He's like, "You should keep doing that." And I thought it was just Paige with another one of his crazy fucking ideas. I'm like, I will, Paige. And I was never going to do it again. But then Perry Saturn came over. He goes, "You should keep doing that Who Bet and Kanyon thing." Because I think that'll stick. And I heard it from 2 people. So I'm like, you know, at this point, people knew I was friends with Paige. So trying to get anything was hard. And even with Bischoff. See, Bischoff liked me and he gave me good opportunities. You know, work on movies and training celebrities and shit. But he wouldn't pay me much because he knew, I think anyway, I can't speak for him. But I never got car and hotel. By the end of WCW, everyone had it except for me and Disco. Literally, virtually everybody had car and hotels. Even guys coming out of the power plant had it, except for me and Disco. And that was one of the things Bischoff kind of kept away from me because I think he was afraid people would see, you know, all right, friend of Paige, let's see how Bischoff treats one of Paige's friends.
Right.
So I think I got less money and, you know, less of a push at times and less good treatment because of the friendship with Paige. Definitely from Kevin Sullivan. I think Sullivan hated Paige. Or I don't know if he hated Paige, but I think Kevin didn't like angles pushed on him. And I think Paige was pushed on him. I think, you know, Bischoff would just say, "You can't beat Paige, period. Do whatever you want, but you can't beat Paige." Well, now, as a bookie, you kind of handcuffed. It ain't really fair to Kevin. Same thing with the blood runs cold mortis escalation thing. That was thrown at Kevin. And they said, "Here's the angle, now do something." And Kevin, it wasn't his idea, so he didn't want to push it. But so I think he did have a bad relationship with Paige. I think I can't speak for Kevin, but I felt like because of that, Kevin didn't really didn't like me too much.
Right.
And it's funny because I think on a personal level we got along all right. I loved hanging around him in the bar because he's so fucking funny and charismatic. But there was that point of me that said, "I think this guy hates me. So why do you want to be around him?" But whatever, it's wrestling, I guess. Huh. So you know, after that, I had to go to whoever was booking TV, and a lot of times it was Kevin. I was like, "Do you mind if I do the Who Bet and Kanyon thing before the match? You know, all I'm going to say is Who Bet and Kanyon. No, it's nobody. Or everybody, whatever the fuck it was." So he, you know, I had to fight for it week in and week out. So after months or so of doing it, and literally had to fight for it every time. And, you know, I started getting somewhat over. I mean, it was never that over, but enough that I stood out, you know. And to this day, when people see me on the street, if they recognize me, which is relatively rare, that's what they scream. They don't scream Kanyon. They scream Who Better.
Right.
So, I mean, I think it definitely was something. But Heenan came over to me one day and said, "Instead of just starting out with Who Bet and Kanyon, why don't you start complimenting everybody? You know, say, you are very beautiful in the front row. I knew you're so muscular and you look good. And then do it." He said, kind of do this whole, try to babyface them, and they'll see through the fact that you're trying to get them to say it.
Right.
Which is actually a really good idea. I know he could pull it off. I wasn't confident that I could pull it off. I didn't know if that kind of personality I could portray. But one thing I did know was I was begging for literally 20 seconds just to say Who Bet and Kanyon. No, it's nobody.
Right.
I had to beg for that. There's no way Sullivan's going to let me do this. So instead of, explaining all that to Bobby, I just said, "You know what, Bobby, it's a real good idea. I'll try it on the house shows. And if I can do it, if it works out, then I'll see if I can do it on TV." I was never really going to try it because there's no way Sullivan's going to let me.
Huh.
I guess Bobby took that as me being a big star blowing him off, which I can maybe see his perspective on that, but he didn't see my side of it either. So I think that's why he buried. That's what the story he told when he buried me, that I was too big of a star to listen to Bobby Heenan. So I tried to clear it up with him at WrestleMania 20 in the Garden, 2 months after I got fired from WWE, and I explained it to him, and he said he understood, but who knows?
Right.
But it was one of the things that bothered me, in my career, especially now more than ever. I'm a straight shooter as far as when I do interviews. I'll fucking bury anybody that I don't like. I don't give a fuck, because I'm pretty positive I'll never work for Vince again. I'm pretty sure I'll never work for Jarrett. So, I'm not worried about burning bridges at this point.
Right.
But at that stage of the game, if Bobby had a problem with me, he was in a level and I was at a level, he should have came to me. I think anyone really should. But him coming to me and telling me he had a problem with me because the way I handled that situation wasn't going to hurt him in any.
Right.
For him to sit on it all those years and then bury me without hearing my side of the story, I just thought that was.
Watch thousands of exclusive shoot interviews right now on TitleMatchNetwork.com.